Okay, Year 5 Homework 6, so let's get started with the comprehension. So this comprehension is about geckos. We can see that the first paragraph is about the author's grandparents and how he watches his favorite animal, the gecko, run on the patio. And then the second paragraph here is some information about geckos. So he says they are tiny, 60 centimeters long, and most are only just a few inches long, right? So they can be up to 60, but most of them are up to only a few inches. So they are small lizards, right? And the lizards are usually green, but some geckos can appear blue. Their appearance is interesting according to the author. And what really interests him is the way they move. So why does the author love geckos? Because they're fast. He likes watching them sprint across the patio. Their legs are no more than 1 inch in length. They have a really interesting ability to climb. They can stick to most surfaces, walk on ceilings, and people seem to like geckos because they eat mosquitoes, and apparently the grandparents agree with that. His only complaint about geckos is that they don't live near him, because they live near his grandparents, but you can assume he lives somewhere else. So however, my grandparents, they would likely get sick of geckos. Yeah, so what he's saying is grandparents, or grandpa, says the author wouldn't be as interested in geckos if he saw them every day, because he only sees them rarely at his grandpa's house. That's why he likes them so much. So let's look at the question. So according to the passage, geckos range in size from what? So we know it's a few inches all the way up to 60 centimeters. So most of them are a few inches long, and they can grow up to 60 centimeters is what I said. What aspect of geckos most interests the narrator? So it says over here, their appearance is interesting, and what really drew him was the way they move. So that's going to be option B. Question 3. Based on its use in the passage, it can be understood that the word sprint belongs to which of the following groups. So you should actually know what sprint means, so you might not even have to look up at the passage. And sprint is basically to run very fast, so that would be option D. Question 4. From the information in the section titled Why I Love Geckos, it can be assumed that the narrator's grandparents okay, so let's look at this section right here. So what does he say about his grandparents? Well, he says that his grandparents feel the same way as most people do, which is they like them because they eat mosquitoes. So option A is actually going to be the best option here, because what we can infer from that is basically we know that the grandparents don't like mosquitoes, they like geckos, they eat them. So that's what we can basically infer. Question 5. According to the passage, the narrator learned about geckos by doing what? So we have to go back and look at the passage. He says the book he read about geckos claims they could grow up to 60 centimeters. So he seems to have learnt about them from reading a book. But he also seems to have learned quite a bit about them from just seeing them. So you can see the biggest he's seen is 10 inches. So how does he learn about geckos? Well, two ways: by reading the book, also by seeing them at the grandparents' house. Now we know that the geckos actually aren't in her backyard. So sorry, it was a female author. But yeah, we know that they aren't actually at her house. They're only at her grandparents' houses. So it's going to be option B. Question 6. The narrator's overall view of geckos can be best described as hostile. That means she's violent or doesn't like geckos. So that wouldn't be true. Indifferent means you don't care about something. So she's not indifferent to geckos. Repulsed means that she doesn't like it again. So again, that wouldn't be true. Enamored would be the only option left. So enamored means that she's really in awe about geckos, like she really finds them super interesting. So that'll be option A. Okay, next comprehension now. License to drive. So I'm going to highlight this and I'm going to come back. Okay, so this passage is about April basically getting her driving license. And what happens is the parents say that they'll also pay for her. So they bought her a new car and they said they will pay for petrol for her new car if she drives her two younger sisters around. So she thinks it's a good idea, but what happens is basically she figures out that her two younger sisters have to go to a lot of places. So between 3:30 and 6, she basically has to drive her sisters around, and she doesn't actually get much free time. And it ends off by saying the middle sister is actually the author, the one that's speaking, and she says when she turns 17 next year, she doesn't know if she should take the same deal that the mom and dad gave, whether it would be worth it. But the older sister says it would be worth it. So, question 7, which of the following are true statements about April before she made the deal with her parents? If we look at paragraph 1, it seems like a good deal. She said she thought it would give her complete freedom, and she thought she could go anywhere she wanted. And let's see what the options here say. So this is definitely true. She was unaware of how many places. Yep, she also was unaware about that. Otherwise she would have known it would have been, it would have hindered her free time. She failed to appreciate how much money it cost her in the car. Well, we don't know about that. There's no mention of that in the passage. So option B would be the correct answer there, I and II. According to the narrator, April now has to pick up Hannah in Cross River at 6 each school day. Okay, we'll drop off Hannah at Swindon at 3. So let's look at what it says about Hannah. So Hannah has a dance after school every single day, and needs to be dropped off there at 3:30 and picked up at 6. She picks us up at school, that means Hannah and this sister. I go to her school, so I usually meet her at 2:20, but Hannah does not get out of middle school until 3. So basically, she gets picked up around 3 and then gets dropped off at 3:30. So here we go, pick up Hannah from high school. Actually, Hannah isn't in high school, Hannah is in middle school, so that shouldn't be right. Let's see what else it says. So we return to Swindon to take me to a friend's house or the library from 4 to 5:30. And Hannah needs to pick up a short while later. After I get picked up again, we go home for dinner and to do our homework. Okay. Okay, so this is a bit difficult, but what we see is Hannah needs to be picked up from dance at 6, and it also says Cross River is where her dance is. So that means she gets picked up from Cross River at 6 each school day. So that's going to be the answer. So, question 9. What is the best synonym for meager? So, if we look at the context where it says meager, which paragraph was it in? It says paragraph 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. So it says here, even the meager free time. So after all of this, we figure out that her free time is definitely much less because she's driving people around. So we should be able to understand that meager means rare or like not much or limited, right? So it wouldn't be unlimited free time, frustrating or responsible free time. It would actually be little free time. So that's what meager means, little or less or rare. Okay, question 10. According to the passage, which of the following is true of the narrator? She has to go to the same place after school each day. She's the youngest of the 3 sisters. That's not true because she's a middle sister. It says that in the passage. She is 16 years old. That is true because she is turning 17 next year, so she must be 16. And let's move on to question 11. So it can be assumed from the passage that April feels that so having a car is not worth all the responsibilities. Well, that's not true because at the end of the passage she does say that having a car has given her a lot of freedom, I believe. Where did it say that? There we go. More fun and freedom than ever before. Her sister's lifestyles are too busy. Freedom is more valuable than anything else. Or having a car is worth the hard work that goes into it. Now, we don't have any information to say that freedom is more valuable than anything else, but she does say that having a car is worth the hard work, because what she does is she says that her younger sister should take the same deal if she gets a car next year. Okay, let's move on to the next comprehension.
Okay, so let's get to the questions for this. So as used in paragraph 2, another word for odour is what? So if you look at paragraph 2, it says odour here. Basically, stink bugs give out a bad odour. And you can assume what a bad odour would mean. It's like a bad smell. So the only word that matches that is scent. So scent is another word for smell or odour. Okay, question 13. According to the passage, stink bugs are different from spiders and bees because they do what? So if we look up here, it says spiders bite, bees sting, and stink bugs stink. So that's the difference there. So stink bugs don't bite and sting. They defend themselves without hurting each other. That's eating crops. Okay, so we need to look for even more information here. It says spiders and bees. It says unlike spiders and bees, they do not hurt other creatures. Spiders and bees actually hurt other creatures by biting or stinging. Stink bugs do not. So that would be the option C as our answer. Question 14. According to the passage, stink bugs are pests to humans because of what? So this is right here. They are still a pest to human beings because they eat fruits and vegetables. Basically, they eat the crops of farmers, so that makes it a pest. So, option, this one is the correct one. And let's see if there's any other reasons. They're also very difficult to get stink bugs out of the house. So that will probably be the second one. They don't produce a poisonous smell, so it wouldn't be that option. So it would be I and II, which is option B. Question 15. In this passage, the author talks about what? So what the stink bug eats, and then about how they defend themselves. It doesn't actually mention what it mentions how they eat afterwards, right after it mentions how they defend themselves. So it wouldn't be option A. How stink bugs defend themselves, then how to get rid of them. It doesn't mention how to get rid of them, I don't think. Oh, it does say it, but that's in the last paragraph. Okay, that's alright. Option C, how to get rid of stink bugs first, and then what they eat next. Again, it doesn't mention that first, it mentions that last. And how stink bugs defend themselves first, then what they eat next. So, yeah, it doesn't really explain how to get rid of stink bugs. It says how you can try to keep them away. But it does explain, first of all, how stink bugs defend themselves, which is by their smell, and then also explains what they eat, which is fruits and vegetables, so option D will be the best answer. Question 16. Which animal defends itself in a way that is most similar to the stink bug? So, these are options that are given here. So, aphid causes a lot of damage to crops and that doesn't really talk about defense. So, a dart frog, which is covered in bright colors that let predators know it should not be eaten. The scorpion kills predators, so that's not like the stink bug because it harms predators. And the chameleon, which can blend in with its surroundings, hiding itself from predators without hurting them. So you can see here, this is the important section. It says without hurting them, which is like stink bugs. So option D will be the best option there. Okay, so we'll go through a bit of the theory on the next few sections. So we've got punctuation, apostrophe. So we've got the explanation here. You've got 4 different types of apostrophes here. You've got a singular noun, so cats, days, right? It's where it's possessive, so you say the cat owns that toy, that's why it's the cat's toy. Now you've got a plural noun, which is the cat's toys, that means there's multiple cats, or 2 days. This is pay, so it's both of the days that own the pay, right? And then you've got a singular noun ending in S, so if you have a singular noun that ends in S, you have to put the apostrophe at the end. So you can see Jesus is going to have. Usually you just put the apostrophe here, but you can. It looks like you can put an S there as well. And then you got plural noun not ending in S. So peoples, again, same idea, but it's pretty simple here. If we look at some of these, so you got choose the sentence with the correct use of apostrophes. So the sun's rays, or the sun's rays. So these are all fine. If we look at the waters, water is a singular noun, so it should actually be right here, like this. Now, option C would be the best option here, because you've got the plural noun here. Sorry, it's no, it wouldn't be option E, sorry. It would be option B, because sun is also singular, so it should have a apostrophe in between that, and then water surface as well. And same idea with these ones. So if you say the horse's hooves, it's a singular horse, it says right here, so it should be horses, like this, option B. I'm not going to go through all of these because they're quite self-explanatory. So vocabulary, homonyms, so again with these ones, if you get any of these wrong, you want to look up, Google the different definitions of these words, and then you should be able to understand why you got it wrong. So wind, again, same with this. And spelling, again, if you spell this wrong, you can just Google it and you should be able to get an idea, or look at the answer key. Now, there's not much explanation I can give with these ones. So you want to look at the answer key if you got any of these wrong, and they should help you out. Vocabulary test, again, same idea. So the only reason you might get any of these wrong is if you don't know the definition of one of these words, so you'll have to look it in a dictionary or Google it, and also look at the answer key to see what the right answers are. So obviously when you mark your work on our app, or if you look at the answer key on our website, you'll be able to see that. Now for factors, multiples and prime numbers, we're on to maths now. So what is a factor? A factor is any number that can multiply into, let's say, the number that is given. So if I say the factors of 12, well, what numbers can go into this? Or you can think about which numbers have 12 in their times table. So 2 has 12 in their times table, 4 has it, 3 has it, 6 has it, and also 1 has it, and also 12. So those are the factors, right? So that's going to be for 12, but for 22, you've got 11, you've got 22 as well, and you've got 2. I think those are the only ones, so it'll be option B. For question 63, you've got 36 as a factor, 1 goes into it, 2 goes into it, 7 doesn't, so it wouldn't be option B. A, sorry. Neither would it be B, because there's 15. Now all of these numbers go into it, so 18 times 2 is 36, 4 times 9 is 36, and 6 times 6 is 36, so these are all factors. Again, you can count them out, you can check their times tables and see if 36 is in their times tables. So with this one, question 64, it should be, there we go, option A. 7 hasn't got 26 in the times table, and neither does 10. So find the least common multiple for each number pair. So least common multiple means the lowest number that is in both times tables. So if you write out the times table, you got 5, 10, 15, 20, and then you got 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20. So you can see what is the lowest number that is in both times tables? It is 20. So the answer here is going to be 20. Same thing with this one. If you do that, you'll get 6. And with this one, you'll get 12. 12 is in both times tables. So factors, multiples, primes, and square numbers. Homework 2. So with this one, what it's wanting you to do is prime factor. So any factors that are prime numbers. So if you think about these circles here, this means it's a prime number. So 2. So 2 times what is 42? It's 21. Right? So you've got 2 and 21, those are the first two factors. And then it's asking you, what are the next factors of 21? Well, it's 7 and 3, right? And these are, again, prime numbers. So 7 times 3 makes 21, right? So what your prime factors here are, it's 2, 7, and 3. So that's going to be option D. So again, what we're doing here is we're figuring out just prime factors. So we find out 2 factors of 20, and this one has to be a prime one. So, I mean, the best option is first to divide it by 2 if it works. So 20 divided by 2. So 2 and 10 are the first two factors here. You got 2 and 10. And then what are the factors of 10? Well, you got 2 and 5, which are again prime. So you got 2 times 2 times 5, and that would be option B. This is called a factor tree, by the way. So again, you can do 66. Let's divide 66 by 2 and give us 33. So we've got 2 and 33. Now we need to do prime factors of 33. It's going to be 11 and 3. So that's going to be option D. Okay, factors, multiples, primes, and square numbers again. Here is a list of 8 numbers. From the list, write down a square number. So a square number is a number where something times something is that something times itself. So if you think about 2 squared, that means 2 times 2, that is 4. So 4 is a square number. So we have to find which one of these is a square number. 25 is, because 5 times 5 is 25. So the number that is a multiple of 7 as well. So 7 times 4 is 28. So that's going to be the answer to this one. Now it says using only the numbers in the cloud, write down all the multiples of 6. So 6 is obviously a multiple of 6. 12 is also a multiple of 6. And that's about it. So it's going to be option A. Write down all the square numbers. So again, you could actually just look at our options here and see which ones are square numbers. So 3 is not a square number. Nothing times itself is 3. And neither is 5. So option C is going to be the answer here. Question 75. Which is the smallest number that is a multiple of both 4 and 6? So again, this is lowest common multiple. So if you look at the times tables, they both go into 24. And that is the lowest number that they both go into. Question 76. Which number are factors of both 48 and 72? So you have to find factors here. And to be honest, we could actually just look at these. So does 4 go into both 48 and 72? We know 4 times 12 is 48. And we could actually do something like this to figure out if it goes into 72. So that would be 1. And that would be 8. So it does go into 72. So 4 is an answer. What about 6? We know 6 goes into 48. It also goes into 72. So 6 as well. This one doesn't involve 6, so that means this one has to be the answer. And it looks like 8 is also an option. Okay, question 77. Which set of numbers contains only multiples of 3 or 4? So 15, 18, 22 isn't a multiple of 3 or 4, so it can't be this one. 10 isn't, so it can't be this one, or this one. 25 is not a multiple of 3 or 4. That means it has to be option D. Question 78. Which number is exactly divisible by 6 and 9? So 18. 6 times 3 is 18. 9 times 2 is 18. So they're both divisible by. Question 79. Which is the highest common factor of 32, 88, and 120? So the easiest way to do a highest common factor is use what we did above with the prime factors. So if you saw up here, this is how we find prime factors, right? You can see 2, 11, and 3. If we use that for these options, we can find the highest common factor. So that means you just basically break them all up into factors, and whichever one is in all 3 of them, right? So if you think about the highest common factor between 12 and 6, all the factors of 6 is 6 and 1. You also got 2 and 3. Factor of 12 is also 6 and 2. So you can see this is the highest common factor in both of them. But when you've got big numbers like this, what you can do is you can do prime factor trees. So let's do 32. We split up. This is a prime number. 16. So 2 times 16, right? We split this again. You get 2 and 8. we split this again, we get 2 and 4, and then we got 2 and 2. So you got 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 basically. So this is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. That's the prime factors of 32. And what we have to do is do the same thing for 88. So 2, 44 is going to be, let's do 11 and 4. And we got 2 and 2. Right, so for 88 it's going to be 2 times 11 times 2 times 2. So you can see there's some repeated prime factors there. For 120 we can do 2 and 60. And then we've got probably 2 and 30, 2 and 15. And there we go. And actually 15 isn't it? There'll be 3 and 5. So these are our prime factors. 3, 5, and then 2, 2, 2. That's going to be 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 5 is the 121. So now what we have to do is we've got all of these prime factors. This is a bit complicated, but it's hard to remember. But we'll keep it. So what we've got here is you have to look at the repeated ones in here. So you've got 3 of 2, so you got 2 times 2 times 2 on all of these, right? So that's the common one. So what we have to do to find a common factor between all of these is we just do 2 times 2 times 2, which is going to be 8, and that's going to be our highest common factor here, 8. Okay, question 80. Lucy's kitten meows every 6 seconds, Olivia's kitten meows every 9 seconds. If they both stop meowing at the same time, after how many seconds will they next meow again at the same time? So what we've got here is the lowest common multiple between 6 and 9. So you might not recognize that, but that's what it's asking you to do, because what it's doing is it's saying if you do 6, if you keep counting up, 6, 12, 18, etc. And then if you keep counting up here, 9, 18, 27, right? You're just doing the 9 times table compared to the 6 times table, and it's asking at what point do they both meow, which is going to be the lowest common multiple, which is 18 seconds. Question 81. 3 squared plus 5 squared. So 3 squared is 3 times 3, which is 9. 5 squared is 5 times 5, which is 25. Now if we just add those two, that is 34. The temperature in 5 cities is shown in the table. What is the difference between the highest temperature and the lowest temperature? So 12 degrees is the highest, minus 13 is the lowest. What's the difference? Well, we have to do minus 13 plus 12. Minus 13 minus 12, because that's because we're looking for a difference, right? And that will give us minus 25. So the difference is basically 25 degrees. So if you count it up if you added 25 to 13, you'd get to 12. So 83. Brian is thinking of a number. The number is the sum of 4 square. Numbers which are also factors of 64. What is the number? So 4 squared is 4 times 4, which is 16. And that is also a factor of 64. So the answer here is going to be 16. Oh, sorry, actually, my mistake. It says the sum of 4 square numbers, so 4 separate square numbers. So let's look for square numbers. 4 is a square number. I think you've got 9 is a square number. What else have we got? 16 and 25. So these are the lowest square numbers. So the sum of these, that means you have to add these all together. And that would be Well, it does say that the square numbers have to be factors of 64. So it can't be that. So 4 and 16 are factors of 64. What else is a factor of 6? Let's think of 25. 6 times 6 is 36. That's not a factor of 64. 64 is a factor of 64. And that is also a square number. 1 is also a factor of 64. So these are going to be our 4 numbers, which are 4 square numbers, which are also factors of 64. So now if we add these together, we'll get 85. So that's going to be our answer. Now question 84. Feroz's age in years is a square number. His younger brothers argue in years. His younger brother's age is in years is also a square number. The sum of their ages is 20. How old is Feroz? So the only square numbers we've got is 1, 4, 9, 16. So you can see the next square number is too big, right? So it has to be one of these, or 2 of these. So we can see 16 and 4, these both add up to 20. So the younger brother is 4, and he is 16. So it's going to be 16 is the answer. Okay, NBR analogy now. So how to do NBR analogy? You have to look at how does it go from the left shape to the right shape. So you can see what happens here is the example is this sort of missing piece is made, and that's what becomes this shape, right? Or this shape basically fits into it. So if you were to do that to here, option D would be the one that fits in that missing piece. So you have to look for a rule and then apply it. So if we look at 85, what happens from left to right? Well, this circle is rotated 90 degrees to the right. So let's rotate this thing first, 90 degrees to the right. We can cancel out C and D and E because they're not rotated to the right. What else happens is this triangle gets pointed the other direction, right? Instead of pointing this way. So this pentagon should actually be pointing away from the arrow, meaning it should be option B. Alright, question 86. What happens from left to right? Well, the shapes inside just swap places. So the only one where they swap places is both C and D. They swap places. Now we have to figure out what else happens. Well, the top left shape goes to the bottom right. Nothing changes. It definitely doesn't rotate or anything, right? While the circle, it goes from bottom right to top left. We can't tell if it's rotated or not. It might have. Because it's a circle, we can't tell. No. It cannot be option C because the shape that went from top left to bottom right has rotated, whereas in this one it didn't rotate, right? So it can't be that. Now in D, you can see this one is kept the same. It looks like the triangle rotated upside down, which is alright because what could have happened from here is a circle, maybe it's rotated, we just can't tell. So the option here, the answer is going to be D. Question 87. The rectangle is rotated 90 degrees, and the same thing is going to happen to this one. The shape inside is then turned white and moved to the bottom of the rectangle. So it should be a white shape, and it should be moved to the bottom like this. Question 88. So the pill shape is rotated horizontally, and what happens is this shape stays the same direction, so this M should be staying upside down. Should be like this, right? and this P is actually made to match it. So both of these should be upside down, meaning it should be option D. If you look at what's happening here, right? Alright, question 89. So, nothing changes apart from this shape is reflected across this horizontal line. And it's made like that. So if you reflect this, we should have a black square here, a striped square here, a white square here, and a grey square here. So option B is the only one that matches that. Question 90. What happens from left to right? Well, the shape is again reflected, and the circle inside is rotated. So let's reflect this shape. The legs should point like this. This is the only option that matches it, because the legs are pointing like this. Question 91. It looks like this triangle is reflected downwards like this. So let's do the same thing to this striped shape. So it should look like this. Shouldn't be any of these options. The striping, it goes from horizontal to straight. So this one should have straight patterns, so it shouldn't be A or D. And that leaves you with option B. The final thing that changes is basically these squares. These black shapes, they move down. So if we did that, we'd get what we've got here in B. Question 92. Left to right, this trapezium, it moves to here and it turns black. So if we move this to the left and make it black, we've got this. So it shouldn't actually be any of these options apart from E. The other thing that happens is this shape comes out, and that means this thing should come out like option E. Question 93. This is just a reflection, nothing else. So which option here is a reflection? Well, if you reflect the arrow, it should be pointing upwards like this. The striping pattern, this one, it should be pointing this way. So it can't be option A. This pattern should be pointing like this. So it can't be B, or D, or E. So option C is the correct answer. Question 94. So this circle shape goes outside, and the triangle goes to the inside. So we can assume this small square would go outside, this rectangle would go inside. So option D is the only one that matches that. Question 95. This is just a reflection from left to right. So if we reflect this, which option is that matching? It is option A. And you can look at all of the other ones. This isn't reflected. This isn't reflected here. This triangle isn't reflected. And this shape isn't reflected here. So these are all wrong. Question 96. So, left to right, what happens? It looks like the black shapes. This is where the white swaps with the black, right? So this one, we can assume. Actually, let's scrap that. First of all, it rotates So it could either be rotating 90 degrees clockwise or anti-clockwise. Second of all, let's say it rotates clockwise. Second of all, the white shapes, they swap places with the black ones. So if we rotate this one clockwise, we'll get something that looks like this. Yeah, so what seems to happen is it rotates like that, and then again, so you can see this thick line, this black line, and they get swapped, so the white should be at the top and the bottom, which is option, oh actually not option B, be option E. So if you look at this, basically this black is swapped, right? Once it's rotated, this turns white, this turns white. And then same thing with these ones. So the rule is rotate at 90 degrees and then swap the thick black lines with the white lines. Right, verbal reasoning, rearrange the words. Actually, with these ones, you don't really need a video walkthrough. You can just look at the answer key on the website. I will just quickly go through the answers though. So if you move H, you can make heats and over. If you move C, you can make crash and limb. If you move the E here, and you can make steep and scar, or you could do S, you could do something with that as well. And if you move the I believe this one will be if you move the B here and put it here, you got table, and then you've got lend. So with these ones, there's not much technique to it. It's just figuring out or trying different letters. So like, first of all, looking at with this shit what you can take out from here to make a new word. So if you take out H, you already got over, right? Blend, lend, you got care, and with this one you got limb. It's quite simple. Obviously you can, if you don't figure it out with the first one, you can try the second letter. First of all, try and make a word with this one, and then you can see if you can put any words into there.